Welcome. You found your way to MindLife Mayhem.
Congratulations.
Conversations exploring critical challenges affecting people's ability to lead a full life.
MindLife tackles the construct of psychiatric disability as we have known it.
With brave and fearless thinking, MindLife finds new ways to challenge the old narrative.
We invite you, either as a help seeker or a help provider, to think, live and ultimately be different.
I'm Gill Townsend.
And I'm Helen Glover.
We're ready to take on the challenge.
Are you?
Are you ready, Helen?
I think I'm ready, Gill. Are you ready?
Right. Yeah, great.
What are you ready
Great.
for?
Look, this morning, what I want to talk about is the role of others.
The role of others.
Yeah, so I want us to take some time out and think about what we mean when we talk about the role of others, the role of that others play in our lives.
Are you talking about in the help seeker, help provider relationship?
Yeah.
Why is that important for us to talk about?
Well, when we're thinking about either help seeking or help providing, it's essentially about a relationship. And I think some things that we get sticky around is that we end up demonizing either side of the equation. So we often say the help seeker is not doing the right thing, or maybe they're being a bit manipulative. And sometimes we think the help provider's not being great and not doing the right thing. So I want to explore that because I don't think that either party has any ill intention in these relationships.
I think you're so right. And, I've been both. I've been a help seeker for a long time and a help provider for a long time. And this kind of challenges me because when I was a help seeker, I put a lot on the help provider to get it right. And had a high expectation that they knew what they're doing and they should just give me the perfect service. And I didn't expect much of myself in showing up in that relationship about directing or engaging or even knowing what I wanted from the help provider. So I imagine for them it's a bit of a guessing game. But also as a help provider, when I've been in that role, I sometimes, kind of want the other person to guide me, but so we're not meeting in the middle. There's a whole lot of these pitfalls that in order to seek the help and to provide the help, we both have to navigate these pitfalls that we inadvertently can fall down. And I think that stops us bashing each other up or criticising each other to the point that, it's just ping pong, ping pong back and forward to each other. We need to kind of examine what these pitfalls are and in order to kind of, see them and name them for what they are.
Yeah, and I'm like you, I've been in the help provider role quite significantly, also in the help seeker, and I think both of those roles we all play at different times in our lives. Sometimes we play help provider in a paid capacity, sometimes we're help provider in an unpaid capacity and in our relationships with other people.
Can I just put it out there from the start that this concept of carer, I really struggle with it. And I know other people love it.
Yeah, tell me more
because it gives
about
them an
that.
identity. But for me, I really struggle with it. I don't know whether you've ever written it in a Word document and it comes up with a red line underneath it.
Yeah, that's right.
It's because it's not a word. That we don't have an identity of a carer. And when I've been doing some work in Italy, when you talk about carer, they kind of go, what do you mean? What are you talking about? It's not a concept that they relate to. We're either a friend, we're a family member, we're a sister, a brother, a father, an uncle, an aunt, a neighbour, but we're not a carer because it takes on, if someone's my carer, then I'm a caree. And that's the relationship then that keeps us both in this very stuck role for both parties. So the concept of carer, I think, has been convenient for payment, for kind of accessing support for family members, to kind of name what they do sometimes in the lives of their loved one. But I don't know that that's helpful. I can remember my husband when I was really unwell and he, I was into this very carey role and being looked after, and he said to me one day, "Darling, would you take the rubbish out, please?" And I said, "Oh, I don't think I can do that. I've got a mental illness." And I didn't say it facetiously. It's just kind of like, is that my role? I'm a caree. I need to be looked after. And he just looked at me. He said, "I'm not your carer. I care for you as much as you care for me, but I'm not your carer. Now take the rubbish out." And I think that's been a really important distinction between someone who cares for you but is not your carer, cares about you but is not your carer.
That makes me think of something we often talk about is I'm responsible to you for my relationship and how I interact with you, but I'm not responsible for you. I think that those for me, when I'm in a service provider role, that's a really important distinction for me, is that I'm responsible to the people who I'm working with, but I'm not responsible for them, for their lives, for their outcomes. And then that takes me into a whole other thing that I think about a lot, which is the adult-adult relationship.
So much. And something happens that when we need some help, and we all do, that something invites us into this, parent-child relationship that I'm here to be looked after. And I think for a nanosecond it feels good, it feels supportive, it feels caring, but inadvertently it can actually change those real relationships that we need to reclaim our life from.
It just makes me think words are so important. And this is MindLife Mayhem, and so we might go all over the place in the things that are important for us to discuss.
And be provocative. And not apologise for that.
Yeah, because there's a part of me going, when you go in that carer role, I go, you've gone really a bit provocative there. But I think it's really, really important to understand the power of words. And also, for me, what's really important is the commodification of words, a commodification of our relationships.
Because if I care for you and about you, my identity doesn't change from being a friend or a mother or an auntie or a neighbour. I can still take those roles. I don't have to surrender those to be a carer. But our payment system and our support structure systems and our social services systems really kind of want to carve out this identity of carer.
Which is a bit why we've intentionally used those words, help seeker and help provider, and they're a little bit jarring, but I think that they're roles that we all have at different times in our lives, but yet that is what you do.
It's what you do. I'm wanting some help. I'm seeking some help, whether it's I'm seeking some help from an accountant or I'm seeking some help from someone who can help me with some health challenges. It's the same thing. And someone's providing help, whether they're providing help as a mechanic to fix a car or they're providing help to me to help me to get really to overcome some of those life challenges. It's actually this interaction and knowing about that those we can why we're showing up in each other's lives.
I think that's it. That it's about the why. Why are we there? Why are we here? Why are we in each other's lives?
And I think the assumption, as you come back to your parent-child, is that when we show up in the help provider role, in the role of the other, and we don't think that the other person is employing us or engaging us, we actually can inadvertently think we know what they want, make assumptions about them, start to kind of think that we're empowering them to do something, motivating them to do something. And I don't think we can empower or motivate anyone, but we can say it again? Sorry.
I think you've just named one of the pitfalls. That's one of the things that get in the way, because if I'm a help provider, I've got a whole heap of agendas in my head. I want to be good. I want to be helpful. I want to see change. I want to see something happen. So I'm driven with a whole heap of agendas. And you've got they might not match yours.
And you've got a whole lot of trappings there too. Like, the first thing is, I've got to name 3 goals as a help seeker, and you kind of go, well, and they've got to fit into these boxes, and the help provider actually wants to, create me a plan, and then they want to monitor my plan, but that's only serving the system.
So we would say, why what are people asking for when you're in the help seeker role that you mentioned, Helen? What are you asking for?
Well, different times, different things.
Yeah.
But usually everything I've tried myself, I've exhausted.
Yeah.
So I don't. It's not going to seek help. Is not the first cab off the rank. It's not ground zero that you think, oh, I might just pop into a mental health service today. You try things to overcome yourself. And it's only when I want some extra help about that. So I might be wanting some kind of new ideas, fresh ideas.
Yeah.
I might want some new skills about, well, I've been trying it this way and it's not helping me, and surely there's someone out there that's got some expert skills or that they're willing to teach me and share with me and transfer them over to me. I might kind of just want some, sometimes you want to try something new and you just need someone there, bit like a coach, to give you feedback, to kind of stretch a little bit, kind of invite you to have a go, and just having someone that can be a witness to your effort is sometimes really important.
Yeah.
I think someone to give you feedback, how did that go? What do you want to tweak? What do you want to do more of? What do you want to do less of? I think, what else do I want help provider around is someone to help me sometimes be a sounding board, to a place to actually kind of put out stuff, see where it falls, how it falls, make sense and meaning out of it. But most of all, I think it's someone that's actually believes in my ability to overcome.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm looking for. If I'm thinking about, I want to employ a team, every single team member has to fundamentally believe in my capacity to overcome the struggles that are in my way. And if they don't, I can't afford to have them on my team.
Yeah. Yeah, like if you were the CEO of a company, and you're the leader of your team, you don't want anyone who's not in on the vision. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's interesting around how we actually understand why the others are in our lives, and I have a bit of a weird kind of conversations with people, but I kind of ask them, how do you understand why are you seeking help? Why do you understand why these workers are showing up in your life? And usually it's met with, well, I don't know, I've just told I have to go, or I have to have them, or they take me shopping, they give me things, they buy me coffee, they hang out with me. And I think we're not known by why we're doing stuff. We're known by what we do. So sometimes people go, well, they're the person that takes me shopping, or they're the person that I have coffee with on Thursdays, or they're the person that drives me to the barbecue, or they're the person that takes me on an outing. Why an adult needs to go on an outing, it's beyond me. But this sense of how we understand the role of the others is usually by their actions, not by their title.
Yeah.
And that's a mindset.
That is a mindset. So we've got mindsets.
The people add value based on their actions, not their titles.
Yeah.
And quite often, the people that we engage in our team, we've lost sight of why we've even engaged them, let alone the value add to them. And I imagine for the help provider, they also don't know why they're turning up on the team.
Yeah. Certainly through our MindLife project, that's what we found. That when we interviewed people, they were frustrated, service providers frustrated, didn't know quite why they were showing up in someone's life, and just made for a real mismatch in the communication.
What stops us asking? What stops us asking each other, I'm lost? I don't know why we're showing up in each other's lives at the moment.
Now, I'm not Freud, but is it ego? Is it that thing that I need to be doing a good job. I need to show I'm doing a good job. I don't want anyone to know that I don't know.
And I don't want to show the person I'm working with that I actually don't know vulnerability. My vulnerability, yeah. And yet I think sometimes that's the healthiest thing to go, can we just pause, because I'm a bit lost on what you're asking me to help you with. And if I'm lost, then it probably isn't meeting your needs.
Yeah.
I think that's the most honest and strong building around a relationship, to get clear about, are we clear about why we're showing up? Is it still useful?
Yeah. I think the other thing that we touched briefly on, I think this sense of empowerment. So often we'll come in and we'll think it's my job to empower you. So I'm here, I'm at work today, Helen, and I'm going to empower you. Because
it's such we see it everywhere. I was with a group of clinicians last week, and they saw their role was to empower people, and I kind of gently tell me about the last time someone walked into your service and said, "Could you please empower me?" And they all burst out laughing.
I've got a great story. So we've got the MindLife mindset that speaks directly to this. We cannot empower.
But we can disempower.
But we can disempower. And when I've introduced that to a fellow in a workshop, he said, "I don't agree with that. I just don't agree with that." And I just sat with him for a bit. And then I curiously asked, can I empower you? And he went, "No." And it's that realisation, just that slight flip. We can't empower another person. We can get in the way, we can disempower, but we do have a responsibility to the person to help them shine a light on their own internal power.
And
to
internal
discover,
capacity.
To discover their power.
Because I think that's a whole nother podcast, isn't it? On that reclaiming and recognising we've all got personal capacity.
Yeah.
Because it's only when the others in our lives don't see our personal capacity and that me power that we've got, that they'll inadvertently jump in and take over. They'll inadvertently jump in and kind of try to help in a way that actually leaves us probably not in the best place.
Yeah. It reminds me of another beautiful thing that occurred in one of the workshops. So we've got this workshop, this mindset that says helpers can help and helpers can harm, and we've got to be mindful about this. There was this beautiful moment in a workshop where a woman whose adult daughter was been struggling with a whole range of things. She sat back and she said, "I realise sometimes I get in the way. I realise sometimes I do too much. I'm going to think differently about what I do now."
That must have been hard for her to say.
Yeah, I imagine it might have been hard for her to say. She was saying it with such a love. I mean, it was absolutely clear that she adored her daughter and wanted the best for her. And she just needed to take a moment and go, maybe being there all the time, being in her face or being the carer is not necessarily the most powerful thing I can do.
So that mindfulness is just pausing a bit and thinking, is there something you're asking for help here?
Yeah.
Rather than just jumping in and helping.
Yeah.
Just that slight pause.
Yeah.
Inviting the person to direct us as the other.
Yeah.
I need this but not this. Could you help me with this? And sometimes just that space, I think, gives it an opportunity for us to kind of renegotiate that adult.
Yeah.
And give voice. What is it that I do need help with? What am I seeking help for? Is it something that I can't do myself?
Yeah. I always make an assumption that people are coming because they want something different.
Yeah.
Sometimes people come because they've been told to come. And then you go, well, actually, that's not part of the deal. If you don't want anything different, then you're actually living your life the way that you need to live your life, and there's no.
And it's interesting because we don't engage in any help provider wanting to come out the same. I don't go to the hairdresser and say, look, do not do anything to it, do not cut it, do not colour it, but I'll pay you the money for it, to leave it exactly the same. And I think the same in these relationships is that we've got to be really clear. What is the difference I'm seeking to leave with? What's the effort I have to put in? What am I asking someone to help me get spectacularly good at? And that the others that I'm asking that from might not be the right others. If I'm clear in what I'm wanting to be different, then they might go, that sounds really grand, but I don't think I'm the person for that. Let me introduce you to someone else who can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this thing about helpers can help and helpers can harm, I'm reminded of a story, a true story of a leader who was really kind of becoming aware of this, how services have been set up on the premise that they can only help. And she used to ask her staff at the end of each day, how have you helped someone? What have you done to help them? Really kind of reinforcing that, helpers are there to help, which is great. But she realised that she needed to ask another question. And at the end of the day, she changed the question and she said, how have you not gotten someone's way today? How have you not stopped someone's agency today? How have you not taken over today? How have you not risked someone's kind of self-direction today? How have you, and so it really kind of, as a practice, started to help staff to remember and remind themselves, yes, I can help, but I also have to be more mindful of how I can inadvertently steal the very things that people actually want to leave with and do for people. And then she started to bring this into a big organisational change. And so when people came to access the program, she did the normal assessment, talked about how great the program was and what it could offer. And then she'd add an extra bit. And she said, on one hand, we can help, and we're good at that. But the way that our services are structured, because they're around illness and challenges and life challenges, we can also get in the way. So there's lots of risks of coming to us. And the people that usually look, you got risk. And she said, well, just like when you go to surgery and a doctor says, yes, it can help by doing the surgery, but I want you to make sure you're aware of the risks as well. She said, it's really important for us to talk about the risks. And some of these common risks that we know, that people can get stuck, people can lose their natural relationships, people can start to get reliant on us, and people can lose their sense of what's important to them in their lives. People can get kind of stuck into their sense that they're only an illness, and it's really important to understand that that's not you. That's the way we've created this service system, and if those things start to show up, then it probably tells us we need to come back and revisit how we're doing things together, because it's left you with a side effect.
Yeah.
That's not of your doing.
Yeah. That really says that understanding the role of others is crucial, because often it's how I see myself in relationship to you that I see my identity. And then if my identity becomes really solid in me as the person who continually needs help, that becomes heavy on me, and I don't become free for myself. So I think it's a really, really crucial point.
And even to continually ask that question, do we still have work to do?
Yeah.
Are we finished? Are we done? How will we know when we're done?
Yeah.
Because there's a colleague of mine in the UK, and she talks about a problem that how our service systems are set up is that we've simply invited ourselves into people's living room, taken up too much space, and don't know how to leave.
That's a beautiful image.
It is, isn't it?
We're in the comfy chair.
Yeah.
We've got our feet warm, and
we're staying.
And that we're like the relative that's just never gone.
Yeah, so we blame people for becoming dependent on services, but maybe it's also the flip, is that services have become dependent on people, become dependent on people needing them. And we don't know, as services, don't know how to leave, don't know how, when are we done? When's our time up? When have we passed our use-by date? And I think these are the vital conversations, not to have every 3 months, to have nearly every day.
Yeah.
And I think
for me, these are conversations that can happen at the big systemic level.
Yeah.
That it's worth to really unpack these when you're designing services. But it's also really on the day-to-day level. I like what you say there. It's how do we change our relationships in the moment?
And I have a story that's is about 30 years old, this story, but I think it's still pertinent today. And when I was first starting to work in the mental health sector, there was a peer colleague of mine that she said, I love my worker. I think she does great things, but there's one thing that really annoys me. And I said, oh, what's that? She said, well, at the end of every session, she pulls out her diary and says, and so when will we meet next week? And I said, what's the challenge in that? And she said, well, she assumes I need her next week. And it reinforces to me that I'm going to need her next week. And it needs to be a different question. And that was a wake-up call for me too, because I had booked in a whole year's appointments with my help providers in advance as if I'm going to need them. And realising that I'd put myself into this permanent relationship with them, that this is going to be something that just becomes meat and veg.
Yeah.
And she was saying that for her, that's the thing that destroyed her hope. That at the end of every session, her clinician would bring out her diary and said, so when can I schedule to see you next week?
I can feel that.
Just such a subtle thing. Yeah.
Helen, this is a great conversation, and we've got a series of conversations coming up. Also, what makes me think is that the resource, the rules of engagement, has got lots of these questions
it's
in.
A great
so
resource.
If people are intrigued by some of the things that we've said, or challenged by some of the things that we've said, or not sure how to navigate those conversations, the rules of engagement has got lots of good questions in it that people can pull out and use.
So the rules of engagement came from one of our design labs, and
Yeah,
it was
true.
for people that were thinking about, well, what could help the help provider and the help seeker get really clear around what some of these pitfalls might be and how to navigate them. And someone came up and said, well, when they had a birthing plan, they had a birth plan that kind of really clearly
this is what I want, this is what I don't want. Yes, I will have pethidine here, but I don't want that. So all of those things.
All that clear stuff. And I think this is where the rules of engagement have come from, is that helping the help, first and foremost, the help seeker to get really clear about what they want help about. And then what are those boundaries and constraints around that help. And then it's up to the help provider saying, can I be on your team? Are you going to select me on that team?
Yeah, because what I would think is that the relationship between a help seeker and a help provider can be a really beautiful mutual relationship for
like
both parties. Yeah, it can be a really transformational relationship for both parties when it works really well, when they're in step.
And I think that's the other resource that I really like is the dance fall and the dance card, is to know who you're dancing with and what you're actually there to do. And it can be different for every person on your dance floor.
Yeah.
And that old-fashioned dance card, the person I've engaged to do the dance of overcoming, depressive feelings is this person.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm dancing around. And the person I'm engaging to help me to reconnect to work opportunities is this person. This is the dance that we're doing. So I'm really clear about who I'm dancing with and when, but also who's on the seats on the side.
Who's on the balcony? Who's near who's outside the exit? Who do I want to bring in? And if I've got too many, can I give some people a pass?
Because I think this is important when we place ourselves as our own team leader or the own CEO of our organisation. Then we have an obligation to ourselves to choose the best team or the dance partners, and also to kind of give guidance to that. And there's a person I was working with, and she's had given her this analogy about being the CEO or the team leader, and she really liked it. And she said, she had a lot of services in her life at this time, and she said, so if I'm the CEO of my life, how come I'm the last person to find out about what's going on around here? She named it.
Yeah.
And it's so true, isn't it? How many times that others in our lives, as soon as they get a ticket to our life, they start to run it as if they're the CEO of our life. Yeah. They have meetings about us without us. They make decisions about us without us. They plan about us without us. They show up and try to, then we become into that parent-child relationship so easily.
Yeah, it's a very easy pitfall to fall into.
Yeah.
And what we're hoping here is to gently invite people in to have an understanding of those pitfalls, and to think and live and act a bit differently around them.
The other resource that I think is useful here is for the help providers is the worker profile.
Yeah, that's
because
true.
Quite
really
often
helpful.
we say, I'm a support worker, I'm a recovery coach, I'm this clinician, but it doesn't actually say anything about what we provide and how we provide it and
who we are.
And who we are in that. Because if I'm going to a gym and I want a personal trainer, they're all called personal trainers, but I want to know a little bit about them. What's their specialty? How do they work? Do I want the soft approach? Do I want the commander approach? Do I want the, what are we actually purchasing
and
here?
At different times, I might want a different. Some days I want the commander. Other days I want you to understand that I just need something gentle.
Yeah.
It's all around the communication. It's all around the role and the clarity. Now, we have got many things to talk about.
We have.
And we've got a number of other podcasts coming up. Our next podcast, we're going to talk about personal capacity.
On personal capacity.
Yeah, because I think that links really well with this, and that deep understanding around what personal capacity is and isn't, and how we understand that. So we would encourage you to tune in for the next one. Helen, thank you for sharing. Thank you for always a robust conversation.
Yeah, thank you, Jill, too, because I think this has helped me remind me, around not just my role in my own life, but the role I have in others. And when I get stuck, it's neither of our...
No.
It's not neither of it. It's the things that happen in between us, and that good conversations and getting clear and being vulnerable to have them saying, I'm lost. Can you help me? Might actually solve a lot of our problems. And I wish I'd known that 30 years ago.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Helen. I'm looking forward to the next conversation. You've been listening to MindLife Mayhem with Helen Glover and Gill Townsend. This project is funded by the Australian Government Department of Social Services via an information, linkages and capacity building grant. MindLife is an initiative of Bridges Health and Community Care. These podcasts have been recorded at the Arts Nexus studio on Madangi country, and the music is by Jeremiah Johnson. If you've made it this far, you are clearly a MindLife change agent. And we've got a gift for you. Go to mindlife.org.au and download the resources that will help you to continue to avoid the pitfalls in either seeking or providing help.